JWL Sports, where we review all the best sports clips from around the world. If this is your first time checking out a video, please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. We're watching a clip of First Things First, talking about whether or not Caleb makes Chicago a playoff team. To me, this is a fascinating question, and I think we're seeing this question probably emphasized more so because we saw the instant success with CJ Stroud. But the truth is that a lot of factors went into making the Texans an instant playoff team. It was the fact that CJ Stroud turns out to be a great quarterback, right? Obviously need that. And their OC is going to potentially become one of those next names that everyone is hunting for, that everyone is like, gotta have this guy, he can choose whatever job he wants, right? Like, he's kind of being, seen as the next McVay, Shanahan, Shane Steichen, those types of guys. Not saying he definitely is, but, he's from that same, tree. So that is a huge deal. That can't be understated. If he ends up actually being who a lot of people believe he is, well then, yeah, you're obviously going to be a significantly better team, right? That's what happened with the Eagles with Shane Steichen and Jalen Hurts. You got that magic, and boom. And we saw this with Dable and, God, I can never think of his name, Josh Allen, right? Like, we know how important an offensive head coach or a good OC is with a quarterback. Not to mention, they also got a new head coach who was able to get the defense right, commands a ton of respect and admiration immediately from the players in the locker room, had a tremendous amount of success with the 49ers. So you are bringing a lot of success, a lot of pedigree, and a player from, an established player who has already won a lot in CJ Stroud, relatively speaking, as much as you could, play and win in college. And that's kind of a good recipe, right? And that's why the Panthers didn't win, because they had no weapons. They had no good OC. I think their coach is good. I think what's-his-face is actually a good coach. He's just been kind of scapegoated as recently. Frank Reich. Bad at ownership, and just, a disaster all around. So the question is does Chicago have enough weapons around Caleb? And is their OC now good enough to maximize Caleb? Not to mention, who was a more raw talent, Caleb or CJ Stroud? Is CJ Stroud entering the league a little bit more refined? Or was he able to be refined by his OC? And does Caleb have so much freakish athleticism, who can do so much amazing things, that he really needs to have a good coach? Otherwise, that can go out of control very quickly. I predicted it's the latter, but let's take a listen to see what they have to say. I'm pretty sure Nick Wright's going to say yes, but let's take a listen.
I'm not a professional investment broker, and I don't give investment advice, but minus 4,000 would mean you get 2.5% return on your money in 6 weeks. That's better than any stock you're going to get, America, if you can put that, because it is a 100% chance he is drafted by the Chicago Bears, number one. And so minus 4,000, you bet 4,000, make $100. Can't do that guaranteed in the market. But now to the point. The Bears are better than people think, and they were last year. And they have since added things. So the Bears, Eberflus would tell you his defense can't function unless it has at least one A-level pass rusher to then have everything rotate off the back end of it. So how did the Bears look once they added Montez Sweat, who is that's not adding prime Von Miller, but it's adding a good player. Good. All of a sudden, they were fine. It's not like they were great. They were fine. They outscored their opponents. They had top 10 points per game and opponents' yards per game defense. They have now added to DJ Moore, who with quarterbacking that evidently was only worth a 6th-round pick, did this last year. Keenan Allen, and Keenan did that in only 13 games. Now, I think Keenan is going to be less productive because of his age, but you then add the fact that in addition to Caleb Brew, they are going to, with the 9th pick of the draft, either be able to add Rome Odunze, Brock Bowers, with the 2nd tackle off the board, or the 1st or 2nd defensive player of any position off the board. And they added Swift. So I expect the 7-10 Bears, with better quarterbacking, more talent, not the dead cap that had been weighing down the last 2 years, to be a 10 or 11 win team.
Ooh.
So I expect them to make the playoffs.
All right, so you came on strong at the end saying they're going to make the playoffs because this question, I think Nick hacked your computer.
Why?
And threw Dark Horse in there.
Oh, no,
because when we talked about it on the phone call this morning, it was, are they making the playoffs?
I will pick them to make the playoffs as of now.
So there you
yes,
because they're a dark horse.
I don't believe in dark horse nonsense.
In the
like
hunt, will they be in
No, I'm not in MVP.
Are they making the playoffs?
Yeah, they'll be in the hunt. But here's the thing.
Yeah.
I think Detroit and Green Bay are definitely making the playoffs. So that's 2 in that division.
They're in.
So I think you like those teams too. If I remember Nick's tiers, I think both of them were pretty high.
Yeah, but the Bears, I think the Bears were the Bears were quite high as well.
They were high.
So we're going to have 3. I don't think you're saying 3 from that division, but I still think Dallas and Philly. I know I don't have like a strange team in here, but Atlanta I got. And then San Francisco and the Rams.
So you have the same playoffs as last year with Baker out and the Falcons in. That's not going to happen.
Well,
it's just not going to be the same.
We will see.
I mean, but that's it's just not.
You yelled at me when I didn't think Bijan Robinson would be Rookie of the Year.
Okay, all right.
So, I mean, I'm just saying.
And so I just think that let me put it a different way, Brew. Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm just saying. Which one's not making it? Detroit or Green Bay? Well, they could have 3 because the NFC's kind of weak. But I think those two are definitely.
I almost think you're looking at it from the wrong direction, which is aside from the NFC South, which we think, you know what I mean, could have a division. Right.
But Atlanta and Tampa could.
No, let me ask it a different way. Let's just say Atlanta's in. If another NFC team that missed the playoffs last year is going to make it, which most years there's at least 2 new per conference, are the Bears not the best bet? The options would be Washington or the Giants, the Bears, and the 4th NFC North
Minnesota.
team. The Vikings.
The Vikings.
Who don't have a quarterback right now. We said the NFC South. We said New Orleans, Carolina, Atlanta, and then Carolina, Seattle or Arizona. Like some people might say Seattle. They got a new head coach. If you think there's going to be a bounce back year from Kyler, I get it. My point is, I think the Bears are the best bet.
Dark horse is the right word.
No, they're okay.
Dark horse, because I don't think Caleb's going to be C.J. Stroud. Now, I think Caleb will be good eventually, but I think this year he'll show promise. He'll make us say, yeah, that was the right pick. But I don't think he's coming in like C.J.
CJ, I think even if you're right on that, CJ had to be CJ because that Texans team earned the number 2 pick on their own volition. Yeah. That Texans team was awful the year before. They were a 3-win team.
No, I get it, but you're saying because they were bad, he had to be so good.
No, I'm giving CJ credit. My point is, if the Bears were the typical number 1 pick team, we would expect usually about a 3-win improvement if they draft the right quarterback. My point is a 3-win improvement for the Bears is 10 because they.
So, okay. So then the real question is Justin Fields. So I get what Nick is trying to say, and it's a valid point. But then the question is Caleb Williams worth 3 more wins than Justin Fields? And I don't know how to put a number on it. I strongly, 1,000%, unquestionably believe Caleb Williams is better than Justin Fields. I never understood why people think to keep Justin Fields and trade, Caleb Williams essentially. So, but, is he technically worth 3 wins? Football is a little bit more complicated than that, I mean, it really, really is. Not to mention, since they're technically not this last place team, they don't have then theoretically as much room to grow. So a quarterback won't make as much of a difference, theoretically speaking, where if your team is just garbage. Not to mention, your schedule is going to be different as well. So when you're the last place team, you typically are going to have a easier schedule, as well as now you're getting that new quarterback most likely, and so you're going to see a bigger difference. I don't know if the Bears necessarily get afforded that, and so the thing is also in that in years past, this division maybe wasn't as competitive, but now Detroit is legit. Detroit is the real deal. They are a real team. I think a lot of people maybe saw them as kind of like outliers, or they're just kind of going on a run here. No, they're going to be an even better team than they were, okay? They damn near had the 49ers dead to rights, okay? Green Bay Packers, also, they are right there. They are going to get better and better and better. So that alone now, those are not guaranteed wins for Chicago. I mean, they could drop 4 games right there. And that wouldn't even be the biggest thing ever. You wouldn't be like, oh my God, what a disaster. Because you're like, well, yeah, this is a rookie quarterback with a brand new team, a bunch of new pieces. And they're going up Detroit, who was in the NFC Championship game last year, and Green Bay Packers, who were a missed field goal away, from beating the team that went to the Super Bowl. So it's just with another great up-and-coming, team with a great youngish at this point now, I guess, head coach. So I just think that Chicago is in a tougher situation. I think they definitely have a great chance of making the playoffs, specifically the wild card. But the type of year that I'm predicting, and although he's being more supported than Josh Allen with the Bills, is I think Caleb has the potential to very much have a Josh Allen season more than, say, like a CJ Stroud season. Because I think when you are have such pure talent and can do such incredible, insane things like Caleb can do, I think he's going to have those moments where you're like, oh my God, and this is why he got drafted number 1. But then you're going to have moments where you're going to be like, you cannot do that in the NFL. What are you doing? That works in college. That does not work in the NFL. The problem is that he doesn't have the coaching staff to really hone that in. At least that's not what it seems like right now. Maybe the OC will surprise us. That is, and this has been my longest running, opinion. That is why Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes would easily be so much more of a gunslinger, so much more of like kind of like Brett Favre-esque if it wasn't for Andy Reid. Andy Reid, because we saw signs of it. We saw signs of Patrick Mahomes becoming that, and Andy Reid always brought him back. Always, as soon as his mechanics got out of whack, as soon as he was making bad, plays, forcing the ball down the field in spots that he shouldn't, trying to do too much, Andy Reid was very much like, easy, easy, easy. Do you want stats, or do you want to win Super Bowls? And we saw this because his numbers went down. His magical plays went down. It used to be like 5, 6, 7 plays a game, and now it's like 2 plays a game. That's Andy Reid's brilliance. That's Andy Reid's DNA all over it. All over. He did the exact same thing with Donovan McNabb decades ago, okay? Even with Michael Vick for a short while. So that is what Andy Reid does. That is who Andy Reid is, okay? That is why he's the best offensive coach ever. And the best head coach ever. Caleb Williams needs that. And I'm not so sure he's getting that. He's definitely not getting that from his head coach. Again, maybe from the OC. Maybe. But I don't know. I think Caleb Williams, especially going to Chicago, may potentially have the feeling like I'm better than Chicago. I know more than Chicago. In fact, I'm going to carry Chicago. They're not going to teach me. I'm going to teach them. I'm not saying he has that mentality. I'm not saying he's that cocky or he's that much of a, he thinks he's just the man. But it is hard to go into this situation like that he's going to be drafted in, but just like, I can't wait to learn and soak up all the knowledge and wisdom. Patrick Mahomes gets drafted by Kansas City and Andy Reid, and he's just like, this guy's amazing. This guy went to 4 NFC championship games in a row and went to the Super Bowl with Donovan McNabb and T.O. and no one else. So, he knows that. Andy Reid commanded respect and admiration. That's why they even said, I want to win this for Andy. That was the whole rallying cry was, we all want to win this Super Bowl for Andy. That's how much love and respect and admiration Andy Reid commands. So when Andy Reid talks, when Patrick Mahomes is a little rookie, still going through puberty, he's soaking up everything. I don't know if Caleb Williams gets that in Chicago. And so that's why I think you'll potentially have an uneven year for the Bears. But if Justin Fields is truly that transcendent, if Caleb Williams is that transcendent and that amazing, then you can, to a degree, kind of like, I don't want to say sweep it under the rug, but you can get away with it a little bit more. But make no mistake about it, it can come back and bite you, without a doubt. So I think Caleb Williams' success comes so much more from the coaching staff than anything else. Because this coaching staff also has to know how to not only control Caleb Williams, right? Rein him in, keep him organized, simplify the game for him, help him develop and grow and all the good stuff. But they also have to know how to just utilize him, how to maximize his peaks. And again, Andy Reid is a genius. That's why Andy Reid was able to truly maximize not only Patrick Mahomes' individuality, but then also the team winning. Also, being like, listen, we don't have the weapons to go downfield, so we're not going to do that. Yes, your numbers are going to go down. Yes, I'm asking you to stop, doing all these crazy plays. I want you to do it once or twice a game, but outside of that, just throw the ball away or check it down. Again, we're winning Super Bowls here, not, top 10 highlights. But again, it works both ways because you can maximize the highs and then also minimize the lows. Even if Chicago has the ability to minimize the lows, because that should in theory not be as difficult, I'm not so sure that they know how to maximize the highs, because that's a lot of what makes an offensive head coach a genius, right? That's why we look at the Sean McVays, the Shanahans, and even now some of these more up-and-comers like a Shane Steichen, because they can maximize some of these highs where you're just like, whoa, this is awesome. This is great. And again, what really sets you to the nenext level is being able to do that as well as minimize the lows. That's what now makes you the god. That is what makes you the Andy Reid. And the same thing with defense on the defensive side of the ball with Bill Belichick is maximizing the highs and also minimizing the lows, right? Forcing those turnovers, but also minimizing the big chunk plays as well. And not all coaches and not all teams and not all players are capable of doing both. I've already used this example many times of backup quarterbacks. So you have some backup quarterbacks who can do such magical, amazing things, but they can't, minimize the lows, and so therefore it balances it out and they're not good. You have other quarterbacks who can minimize the lows, but they can't maximize the highs, and so they're, consistent, but they're not going to, really be able to lead you down by 14 in the fourth quarter to really, win that game, which all quarterbacks essentially really need to be able to do. And that's why they're backups. So, the real question is what can the Chicago coaching staff do? That is what it all comes down to. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. Do you think Caleb Williams makes the Chicago Bears playoff bound? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get into some discussions. Let's get into some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really, really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.